Hello, today we are in the literature text learning target packet. And as we look at the literature text learning target packet, we're focusing on essential question number 2, how do strategic readers create meaning from literary texts? As well as learning target or essential question number 4, what is literary text really about? And essential question number 7, how does a reader's purpose influence how the text should be read? As you look at this, we are going to be close reading a poem today. And this poem close reading is going to be participated in 3 distinct phases. Within the first phase, you'll be reading the poem Ode to Enchanted Light and Actively Learn, looking to summarize what the text is really about. Because as we read in the first phase of reading, we're looking for what the text says. So please read over this poem, thinking about and looking for how to create an objective summary of this poem. Please make sure every stanza 1, stanza 2, and stanza 3 are all represented with a clear and objective sentence as part of the summary. So since this poem has 3 distinct stanzas, you should be looking at specifically a minimum of a 3-sentence summary for phase 1. As you participate in phase 1 of the close read, we're going to be looking at making sure we follow learning target number 5 to create an objective summary of the text. Please make sure that just like in any objective summary with literature, that you focus on what the text is about, and if there is a conflict, which sometimes poems do have them and sometimes they do not, that you have that present within your summary. I don't want to tell you either way whether it does or does not, but just know that sometimes maybe a poem is set up as a narrative and then it would have a conflict, so then you would focus your summary around that. If in some cases poems are about showing strong emotion and not necessarily showing a plot structure, if that's the case, make sure the emotions present within each of the stanzas are clear and objective. And then that will take you into phase 2 of the reading. For phase 2 of this close reading, we always look for how the text says it. So as you reread this poem, please make sure you're thinking about the way the author wrote it. We're going to look specifically at what's the impact of the structure of the poem. Please make sure for this phase you also cite text evidence to support your response. As we complete this phase, as I just said, you are going to be looking at learning target number 1 to cite text evidence to support your response. That also means you need to take the time after the evidence to figure out some strong analysis sentences connecting the very specific words and details in your evidence back to your main point, your claim for that evidence, which is your opening statement. So please make sure that you do not just cite your evidence and end with a quote. When we cite evidence, we always end with what we call that explanation component, that full sentence analysis component, where you pick out specific details from your quote and talk about how those details connect back to the main point of your, in this case, paragraph. We're also looking for the structure of the text in here. As we look at structure, we will be looking at learning target. Sorry, I lost my page here. We're looking at learning target number 10 to analyze how a poem's form or structure contributes to the poem as a whole or to its meaning. We are now going to look at a new structural element for this poem. We already talked about end rhyme and the impact that it gives a musical quality to the poem. We talked about the sonnet, which is a poem structure that has 14 lines with a A-B pattern and then a rhyming final couplet at the end. And now, with this new type, we're going to look at the ode. The ode is a poem written to praise. And that could be pretty much anything. Ode to Joy is a song that is popular. An ode to joy is a song that literally means an ode or a praise to the emotion of joy. So, in the case of Ode to Enchanted Light, this poem's purpose as an ode is literally to praise the title. It's praising the element of light. So, you're going to see this poem is set up with a lot of strong emotions to praise the element of light, as in the natural element of light. As you think about the structure of an ode, know that the main structural quality of an ode is simply to praise and to give words, detail, and description to praise the subject. So in this phase, as you think about what's the impact of the structure of the poem, I want you to begin your opening sentence that you need to support with evidence, and then also support with a few analytical sentences after that evidence by beginning in this manner. The poem is written using the ode structure, emphasizing what, describing what, showing what, or implying what. Keep in mind what I just explained to you about the ode structure and how it is meant to praise some sort of element. Make sure as you read, you figure out clearly what is the element that is being praised and which word, emphasizing, describing, showing, or implying, would you use to help showcase and finish off that sentence. After you complete phase 2, we'll move on to phase 3, which is why the text matters. In phase 3, for why the text matters, we're going to look at that very challenging concept that we always seem to struggle with, which is the interaction between two skills in the text. As we do so, we will still be looking at learning target number 1 to cite piece of text evidence to help support our response. Please make sure you follow that with a few sentences of analysis, connecting your evidence back to your opening claim. We'll also be focusing on learning target number 6 to analyze how particular elements of a poem interact. Remember, interactions mean that one element influences another. One element affects another. And as we look through this phase of reading, you're going to have to decide what those elements are. I have set this final phase up similar to that of a TDA prompt. In fact, I'm asking that you make sure that you grab and tape into your writing notebook a TDA prompt that I've left with a substitute today. So make sure that you put this prompt in your writing notebook. Break it down and determine your thesis statement. Your thesis statement will be your opening sentence for this third phase of the reading. So let's look at what we need to focus on as we reread the poem for why the text matters. Light and sound have a significant effect on the poem Ode to Enchanted Light. What is the role of light and sound in the poem? Cite specific evidence from the poem to support your response. Keep in mind, all TDA prompts are not written as questions, so I sort of changed this one a little. But if you notice, the actual prompt that you're breaking down says to write an essay analyzing the role of light and sound in the poem. Please, again, get one from the sub, tape it into your notebook, break it down. As you head into this third phase of reading, your thesis statement will be your opening sentence for this paragraph response. Although this is only a required paragraph response, obviously this could be set up and continued as an essay. All you have to do is break this down and make a thesis, but maybe if you choose, you may want to do this one as your analysis piece for the end of the 9 weeks publication, which is completely and utterly up to you. So go ahead and at this time, get started on your close reading. Keep in mind that when you get to the third phase for why the text matters, you are required to tape in and break down a prompt in your notebook and have your thesis statement be the first sentence of your 1 paragraph response for this. But know that this essay or that thesis could be a choice for you as a publication piece for your analysis piece at the end of 9 weeks. So go ahead and get to work on the close read.